Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah. Lech Lecha, day number 5. I misspoke yesterday at the end about day number 4. That was day number 4. This is day number 5, and I'm looking at the remainder of this Torah portion and thinking, how can I cover all of this? I don't know that I can, but there are a few things that I want to bring out in the next several chapters. In chapter number 15, it says after these events, this is after the rescue of Lot and Lot's situation there, that Yahweh came to Avram in a vision saying, "Do not be afraid, Avram. I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great." Specifically, it says the Davar Yahweh came to him in an open vision. Yochanan, or John chapter number 1, tells us that Yeshua is the Davar Yahweh, the word of Elohim. And then Avram's response to an open vision is kind of puzzling. He says in verse number 2, "Master Yahweh, what would you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eleazar of Damascus?" I have to ask the question, how long has this "I don't have an issue, I'm childless" thing been brewing under the surface of this man? At this point, he's been walking with Yah where Yah called him to, and has been experiencing the presence and the visions of Yah, hearing the very voice of the Creator on several occasions, becoming wealthy, rich, blessed, satisfied with a lot of good things, but evidently seething under the surface was this issue of "I don't have an heir." How long has your issue been seething, boiling, riling you under the surface? I'll kind of just leave that for the moment and go on. So Yah says to him, "Your servant is not your heir." He says, "But he who comes from your own body is your heir. Now look at the heavens, count the stars if you're able to count them." And he said to him, "So are your seed." And that wonderful verse that says, "And he, Avram, believed in Yahweh, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness." Avram chose to believe the Father even when he didn't understand. Now he's an old man at this point, and he's looking at his wife, and she's not getting any younger. And for all of their efforts at childbearing in years past, nothing has happened. And perhaps in their minds they're thinking nothing ever will happen. But Yah has a plan for them. Whatever is your issue, whatever is riling you under the surface, that when people say, "Hey, how are you?" and you say, "I'm fine," that thing that you don't tell them about, that you're struggling with, Yah has a plan about that. Just keep that in mind. So he says, now I want you to obey. Faith and belief always requires some means of obedience. We're not talking about an intellectual concept or assent here. We're talking about faithfulness. And Yah calls him to faithfulness and says, "I want you to go and prepare these animals as a blood path, hew them in half." And so he takes a type of the red heifer, a type of the katat, the sin offering, a type of the olah offering, the ascension and the elevation offering. And then he offers also a type of the offering for a newborn son. Lays them out in an open and bloody path. And you and I know what happens. The sun begins to go down. It's getting dark. This is prophetically then speaking to us of the day of Mashiach that begins in darkness. The day of Mashiach begins as every other day in Scripture. Evening and morning were the first day. The day of Mashiach begins in a time of darkness. so dark that Avram had to fight slumber and a frightening darkness, an overwhelming sense of darkness. The day of Mashiach does not begin with bright, glorious sunshine and victorious battle. It is a call for the endurance of the saints, of those who believe. A time of trouble, Yaakov's trouble. He has to resist the birds of prey that are coming to devour the offerings of the covenant. Hasatan is going to be on the attack. We know from the book of Revelation, especially chapters 12 and 13, that the anti-Mashiach, the pseudo-Messiah, is going to rise up, and he's going to make war against those successfully for a while, against those who walk in belief. We're going to have to fight that off. But then we see something significant, a smoking oven, Ashen, and a burning torch, Lapid. These two words, Ashen and Lapid, is also found in Exodus, Shemot chapter 20 and verse number 18, where we see lightning on the mountain and smoke on the mountain. Lightning is the word Lapid, and smoking here is again Ashan. So perhaps in a manner of speaking, what Yah saw passing through the pieces was also representative not only of Yeshua, who says, I will bear the brunt and the price I will pay for your failure, and you and your descendants, to keep this covenant. But he also saw an indication of Mount Sinai, where the covenant would be given to his descendants. Not only is redemption in this covenant, but the Torah, how to walk this redemption, is given to us in this covenant. Now, chapter number 16, and I'm trying to move quickly here. We find then that Sarai has a very low opinion of herself. She sees that she is unable to bear a child. So she turns to Mitzrayim, to Hagar, to be the resolve of her problem. When this doesn't work out well, she blames her husband. Now, it's interesting how this plays out. She says, Yahweh has kept me from bearing children. Who is she blaming? Avram has an issue under the surface. Sarai has an issue under the surface. It's Yah's fault that I'm not able to bear a child. He doesn't trust me with a child. He doesn't love me enough to give me a child. However she would have thought and phrased this, she was blaming the Creator for her childlessness. So she turns to Hagar, who is a representative of the Mitzrayite world system, to resolve her issue. And then Hagar, evidently, in verse number 4, she seems to be saying, I'm the real princess, Sarai, and I'm the one through whom Yah is fulfilling his promises. In verse number 5, Sarai begins to cry out to Avram, the outrage against me is due to you. You're the problem. If you hadn't told all of those Mitzrites that I was your sister and not your wife, then we would not have ended up with a gift from Pharaoh called Hagar, and I wouldn't be in this mess. There's a core issue there. A core issue that needs to be dealt with. So in chapter number 17, we come to Avram again at 99. Yah appears to him and says, I'm El Shaddai. I am the all-sufficient one. And I know that in Avram's mind he must be thinking, you're sufficient, but I'm still lacking, and my wife is still upset, and my wife is still mad, and this isn't working out very well. I'm frustrated. Yah does something very powerful here. He adds the letter H, or Hey in the Hebrew, to each of their names, changing Avram to Avraham and Sarai to Sarah. hey, the breath of Yah is infusing into them, and they become spirit-filled people who are capable of realizing the power and the benefit, the fulfillment of the covenant. May Yah fill you on this Shabbat with a freshness of His presence and enable you to fulfill His covenant. Shalom.